Hey everyone, my name's Chris Lambert. On this channel, we talk Kanye West. And today I wanted to make a video that was just more of a focused explanation of what happened with the Kanye interview. We've talked about it in some of the episodes, especially when we were down in Miami. We gave some updates, but we haven't made just a video discussing, giving the details, right? Or like the details as much as we can. So to recap, on February 18th, I was kind of hanging out and wrote up, I was just like, you know what? Earlier in the day, Ye had taken a screenshot of an Instagram post we had made that was talking about Genius being the #1 movie on Netflix. And it was like, oh, he saw our post, took a screenshot of it. That must mean he's aware of the things that we're posting. So you know what? I'm going to write this up and see what happens. And it read, hey, Ye, would love to interview you about movies. Akira, There Will Be Blood, Blade Runner, Matrix, Holy Mountain, etc., etc. Put one on and just analyze it and discuss. Film seems like such a big influence for you, but there's never been a focused interview about it. Let us know. Posted that to Instagram, and a couple hours later, sure enough, Ye took a screenshot of it and posted it to his own Instagram saying, come to Miami, which was just like wild, right? Ye not only read the post, saw the post, but seemed to agree to the interview, telling us to come to Miami, which was just like, whoa. So this was Friday afternoon, and I was actually at lunch with somebody that has interviewed Ye in the past. So they're just like, hey, I actually have a ton of information for you about like all of this, which was great. But ended up calling Travis, ended up talking to one of our podcast like partners that we have, James Gilmore from Wizard Radio. And he had somebody from UMG reach out and give him a name. We had also had a couple of people give us contact info, and it was just like, all right, how do we go about securing this interview, right? So James reached out to the person that he had contact with. I had a number from the person that I was just at lunch with, and they're like, talk to this person. This person is who I went through. I was just like, all right. We have some contacts. Let's see what happens. And the person James reached out to never responded, even though James has like a Universal Music Group email, has like an official thing. So it's just like, all right, that didn't go through. And then the person I reached out to, who I guess is kind of in charge, or at least has been in the past, of scheduling interviews for Ye, I was just like, hey, got your contact info from blah, blah, blah. Kanye just posted to Instagram seemingly to agree to an interview with us about movies, and I sent this photo, and the person's response was just, where in that photo did he agree to an interview? Which, my goodness, I did not expect that. Like, I expected some resistance, right? I didn't think it was going to be like immediately all walls down, like, welcome, come on. But to be like, where in the photo does he agree to the interview? I was just like, well, we offered to do an interview and he said, come to Miami. It seems the implication is, if you come to Miami, we will do the interview. And the person was just like, well, what outlets? And it's like, well, we're a Kanye podcast, like the largest Kanye podcast in the world. We have like 100K Twitter followers, these YouTube subscribers, et cetera, et cetera. And they just said, I'll check on it. And I followed up a couple days later, heard nothing, followed up again a couple days later, knowing that they weren't going to get back to me, and they did not get back to me. So that also fell through. So we had another PR contact that's through, I don't think I can give too much information about it, but just somebody that deals with kind of like social media stuff for Ye's team, right? And I reached out to that person who actively said like, hey, hit me up, hit me up. So I hit them up and I was just like, hey, what do you have for me? And they told me to reach out to them after the show. So I told them we were going to be down in Miami, right? Because this is a Friday afternoon now. And I guess we could have left like Friday, gotten there Saturday, and tried to do the interview like Saturday, Sunday, heading into the show on Tuesday, right? But instead we figured we'll get there Monday, maybe try and do the interview like that day. Tuesday, we're leaving sometime Wednesday. Our guests, and truly, honestly, my thinking was that we'd at least make first contact. With everything with the album leading up to the concert, I was pretty sure that they were going to be very busy, and it might not be the best time for an interview that involves watching a movie. Like with a show 4 days away, 3 days away, I don't know if Ye would want to just like sit down and watch There Will Be Blood. Maybe, maybe he's just like, seeing Akira with Chris and Travis is the thing I need to put the crowning, like the cherry on top of Donda 2. But I honestly was expecting we'd get down there, we'd maybe get to meet him, talk about an interview, and maybe set like a time frame like March, fly out to LA, we'll do something like that. That was kind of my best case scenario. I mean, I guess best case scenario was the interview, but like realistic best case scenario was just getting that like meeting, conversation, and starting to get the ball rolling. Because remember with Joe Rogan, like Ye tweeted that he wanted to do the Joe Rogan podcast, and it took, 2 years until that finally happened. So it can take like a minute for these things to happen. Though I think with Drink Champs, it was a lot faster. It was just like, hey, you want to do Drink Champs? Yes. Or Ye reaching out like, I want to do Drink Champs. And Nori's like, okay, like fine, sweet. Like when? Tell me when. So the other person that we reached out to is just like, hey, hit me up after the show on Tuesday. And like, that was nice. Like, I appreciated them doing something, but that already seemed like a doomed proposition. Like, okay, so after the show, we're talking like the show's not going to get going until 11, like 10:30, 11, that range. And we're expecting 2 hours. So we're talking 1 a.m. I don't think Ye's going to want to like do the movie interview in the aftermath of the show. But maybe, it would have been that first contact, right? Like, you're in the stadium, we can get you down there, we can have you introduced to Ye, and that's where that kind of conversation happens. Like, oh, you're the guys that do the podcast. Oh, wait, I just saw you last week in Los Angeles. You got a haircut. It looks great. Much better than when you were in Los Angeles. Nice choice. I can imagine Ye saying that, but never heard back from that person. And I just keep hitting them up now every couple days, like, any update, any update, any update. Not because I think like there's going to be an update, just because I'm like, you should at least say something, right? Is that hard just to be like, hey, sorry, did it work out? Instead of just like nothing. So then I reached out to 2 other people. We had been in talk with someone potentially about an interview, and that like reaching out to them seemed very positive. They're just like, okay, great. Like, I'll help you out with this. I was like, fantastic. So that kind of felt like the ace in the hole, right? Like, okay, I know that we have this person. And then there was someone else in Ye's camp that we kind of reached out to, and they were like, oh, that's great. Like, give me your number. So I gave them like DM the number, and they're like, I'll hit you up tomorrow. And I never heard from either of them in the time that we were in Miami, which was a bit of a shame. I get both are busy as well, and they have a better read of the room than I do. It might be like in our best interests that they're just like, well, actually it wasn't a good time. And even if you were to come into that situation, it would have been like, you want to pick a better spot than like where we were at then. Like, I think there's probably a little more of a reason to it rather than just like, oh, fuck those guys. Like, I don't think it's that, but it's also something where, it's hard to go to bat for someone you don't know with someone like Ye, right? Like, oh, hey, like, can I like introduce these guys when he has so much going on, running like $1 billion businesses, making an album? Like, when do you bring us up? So on the one hand, it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, couldn't they? But on the other hand, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want anybody to jeopardize their position for our sake at this time, right? Because if the interview's not happening on this trip, I think it's just a matter of time before the interview happens, which is also one of the reasons why I wasn't like breaking down the door to try to get in and be like, let me talk to Kanye, and going full like, I think you can do too much at times, right? And there's a time where boldness is rewarded, but also a time where you're too desperate. And it was one of those things where it was just like, all right, I feel like this is something we could push for, but if we're already getting this kind of resistance when Ye was come to Miami, then odds are that the resistance is just going to be met with more resistance. And you might burn bridges, you might like upset people, you might start to step on toes. Like there were some people that were very well intentioned. They gave us like Boo's contact info, right? And it's been a minute since we've seen Ye and Boo together, but we're talking like Boo's personal phone number, his email. I was like, I could try to use that, like pull out all the stops, right? Like, Boo, hey, Chris Lambert, Kanye podcast. Kanye posted this, but that's also just like, I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me. Like if I was the celebrity, the famous person, somebody's just like calling me out of the blue and being like, hey, can you help me because this person did this? I'd be like, maybe, but like, who are you? What's going on? I would rather than try to bother like person after person after person, just keep grinding and keep working until like our reputation is such that it's much easier to walk through the door, right? Rather than to be banging on it or ringing the doorbell over and over again. So maybe that's something where like pride's getting in the way, but I also think that patience here is also valuable. So we did go some of those routes where we had personal contact info for some people, though we did get through another like contact person of a person of a person, contact info for like Ye's assistant, like somebody like very, very like close to Ye, but not somebody that's like a named person that you see in a lot of photos, anything like that. And it texted that person and was just like, hey, you know, he had sent this, someone kindly like passed on your information, sorry to be bothering you. And we didn't hear anything from that person directly. This is where the half comes from, right? 3.5. We didn't hear anything back directly. Like there was no typed message, but we got a photo that was of a text conversation saying that, that were like VIP, like media people at the show, and they needed tickets, which is referring to us, and that we needed to go outside of the stadium to gate like 3 and get the tickets, which we actually talked to a group of people when we first got to the stadium, which you might be one of those people watching, hey, and they were saying like, this is the VIP entrance, this is the VIP entrance. And that information actually came back to be helpful because we had to go to that entrance, which was kind of funny because one of the security people was just like, oh my goodness, it's Watching the Throne. It was nice to be recognized, but it was funny that it was coming from one of the security people, and they're just like, you're coming this way, come on through. So we got to go up to the table, talk to the PR person, and apparently like someone on the team got us tickets for the show, which was very nice of them. We had tickets for the show, but it was like an upgraded section, so that was cool. Like, so we got those like extra tickets, but they weren't like bonus room, come to like downstairs, you get like the lanyard that says VIP and you can go anywhere in the stadium that you want to go to. It was just like, here are some very nice seats, like enjoy your time, which is nice, but not the interview, right? Or not the introduction. So it was like a nice thing, but also something I was like, not quite the W we were looking for. But, you know, send a nice message thanking the person, and I was like, if you don't mind if I bother you about the potential interview every now and then, and got a heart emoji back. So we'll see how that goes. And then there was like one more kind of Hail Mary contact like that just didn't come through. So at this point, we're at the stage where we haven't heard from Ye. And of course, I like DM'd Ye's Instagram, right? That was one of the first things that we did. It was just like, hey, it's us from the post about movies. We're coming to Miami if you want to follow up. And then we're in Miami. Hey, we're at the show. Hey, we're leaving Miami. Hey. And then just follow-ups like that. Also told them season 2 of Righteous Gemstones is great. We know that Ye's a big Danny McBride fan. He's probably already watched it. I'm probably dumb trying to tell him about a Danny McBride show, you know? But he's a busy guy. Maybe he hasn't watched Righteous Gemstones Season 2, and this was a nice reminder. But Righteous Gemstones, if you haven't watched it, is pretty funny. And I think Season 2 found the voice of the show quicker than Season 1, or at least Season 1 was a little bit of an adjustment for me getting into some of the characters. It's a bit of a weird show, but Danny McBride does such a good job, especially with that team, Jody Hill and David Gordon Green. Vice Principals was a great show. It's the same team that did Eastbound and Down. I think if I were to rank them, it's like Righteous Gemstones, Vice Principals, then Eastbound and Down. I think that might be it. And then the Halloween Kills movie is just at the very bottom, like tiers and tiers down below. I can't believe that team made that movie, especially after the first Halloween was so good. Anyway, this is not about Halloween movies or the filmography of Danny McBride and David Gordon Green and Jody Hill. But so we DM'd Ye a whole bunch and never heard back, never even said like seen, which I don't think you can turn read receipts off on Instagram, can you? I don't think so. So it seems like Ye never checked the messages. And of course we made some like public Instagram posts again, like, yay, we're in Miami. No such luck. But I'm not too worried about it. I didn't expect to get the interview in February of 2022 anyway. So seeing this is like a bonus, but it's just kind of like one of those things where it's the precursor, right? You can feel the momentum building, like getting to meet Ye at the Genius premiere in Los Angeles at the after party, now getting this post saying come to Miami. Like, it's not the moment that we've been waiting for, but it's moments that seem to be adding up. And, maybe by the end of the year, something will happen. Maybe next year, something will happen. But we're going to keep grinding with the channel. We're going to keep grinding with Film Colossus or movie analysis websites. I'm going to keep grinding with my fiction and poetry and arts. And, it's going to be a certain point where it's just like, okay, these doors are opening rather than us kind of shouldering into them, being like, please unlock this. Can you just someone unlock this door? They'll just be like, hey, Chris, Travis, come on in. That's the goal. Just got to keep, like, I think that's the way I'm looking at it, instead of pointing the finger like, oh, if only this person had done this, if only this person had done this. It's like, okay, we've done enough work to get like some recognition, but there's more work to do on our end to raise our like level to the point where this isn't even like an issue. This isn't even a hassle. We're just in, So on the grind, just on the grind, watching Genius Part 1 and Part 2 in the background all day, just on my phone, Actually, I'm not doing that, but that's the mindset. Replaying it in my head. Anyway, so that's the explanation. If you wanted more details about what happened, we reached out to a bunch of people. Some responded, some didn't. And yeah, people were busy. And that's the summation of things, but we'll get there. We will get there. So that's it for this video. Until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.